So, coming back to what we said about it feeling a bit more rushed. The components of Scrum, so how it's broken down, is into something called sprints. And you know the slide with the iterations on, so the little short loops? Each one of those loops is a sprint. And so what you're trying to do is force people each sprint to have this kind of wave effect. So you're forcing people into pushing, into going. And so kind of the key components of this is what I spoke about, the product backlog. Each sprint, we take a few features out of the product backlog, maybe say 2 to 5 features out of the product backlog. And then what we look to do is break them down into individual tasks ready for this sprint. So we move from what's the product backlog, so the overall feature, to the backlog for just this sprint, so just these items. Then the sprint, generally they're 2 to 4 weeks. We tend to go with a 2-week process. So the first Monday morning of the sprint is this planning session, and we spend a whole day on the planning for the 2 weeks. Then at the end of that 2 weeks, we have a kind of review session, and that 2 weeks is the sprint. Also, this bit at the top, this kind of 24 hours, is in line with the kind of agile principles, we're trying to encourage collaboration and interaction between people. So we have what's called a stand-up meeting, and every day we have 15 minutes where we pull everyone into the meeting room. We have a board with all the tasks on we have for that 2 weeks, and in those 15 minutes we go around the room and everyone says what they did yesterday, what they're doing today, what they did yesterday, what they're doing today. What's the third one? Yeah, and if they need anything off anybody else as well. So Brint's actually often helps run these sessions in Everlist. And so that kind of encourages that interaction process. And finally is obviously what I was talking about before, that at the end of that kind of 2-week or 4-week sprint process, we're looking to have something shippable, so a finished product that the customer can see. Then they can come in after the 2 weeks, see the finished product, and adapt and make changes to it and say, well, actually, I want to change this, or, you know, in the next iteration, I'd rather you do this instead. So we're getting that customer collaboration early and upfront. I know it's a bit to take in, so does anyone have any questions about that? All right, that's good. So again, each sprint is broken down into what I said. The first day is the plan for that sprint. The second is obviously the development, which is carried out over that kind of 2-week process. Then on the last day of the sprint, we have 2 meetings. One is called a review meeting, and usually this happens with the customer or the client. And what you're looking to do here is that kind of collaboration process where you present the work you've done, you go over what changes need doing, and what items you're likely to do in the next sprint. And what you also do at this process is to go back to this backlog, and if they feel they need something refactored, or they feel that they've now thought of another item having seen that item, or even they've now realized they don't need another bit because it's in the bit you've already developed, they can rechange this backlog. So this backlog is adaptable, and you revisit that every 2 weeks. And so that's the idea of changing your path as you're going along it.